Okay. So, hello everybody, and welcome to this Nigerian Power BI Professionals webinar for May 2019. It has been a long time coming, but the good thing is we are able to start, even at least we are starting before the first half of the year. So, kudos to the team that is putting all of this together, and we really hope that we are going to be able to scale from here. So our hope is that by the end of the year, we should be able to bring up quite a number of people's proficiency on Power BI. So we want to be able to know that people know Power BI as much as they know Excel in Nigeria, because really there is no much difference between Power BI and Excel. Of course, one or two differences, but they are still products of Microsoft and they have a lot of similarity. They share so much in common. So as much as people use Microsoft Excel, people should be able to use Power BI as well, because that tool is very important and it is gaining grounds much more these days. And really, before you know it, I promise you a time is going to come when you have to state on your CV if you know how to use Power BI or not. So these days, you get people get to list on their CVs proficient with Microsoft Excel, even though they are not proficient. They say they are proficient in using the Microsoft Office package. I see a time coming when you are going to be required to state whether you are proficient in using Power BI before you can take any job role that has to do with reporting. So this is a very good step for us as far as the Nigerian Power BI community is concerned, and we are kicking off with an overview of Power BI in this month of May. So we run this for a couple of months, and once we are able to get people to a certain level, we can get the group to start bringing up meaningful conversations on Power BI. People should be asking questions on Power BI. You have data you are working with in your office, you have to do something in your office, and you are using Power BI to create that. Then you can ask questions within the group, and then so many people are going to be able to answer your questions, because we are going to have a lot of people that really know how to use this tool. Okay, so what's going to be the learning outcome for this particular session? The first thing is we are going to be understanding what we mean by self-service business intelligence. Then we'll also be looking at the Power BI ecosystem. We also want to know what are the skills that are required for anybody to say, yes, I know how to use Power BI, or yes, I am proficient in using Power BI. There are 4 certain skills you need to have. Then we are going to dive in straight into the real action, where we'll open Power BI desktop and we'll try to familiarize ourselves with the Power BI interface, the controls, and everything you get to see when you open Power BI. And finally, we'll create 1 or 2 visualizations. So this is going to be our learning outcome for today, and I hope you are going to be able to follow us all through. So at the end of this webinar, I'm going to drop in there, I will drop the file that I will be using for the demos. It's an Excel file with about 9,000 rows. So I'll drop in that file there for anyone that would like to go over the video all over again for their own personal practice. All right. So my name is Ahmed Oilo, and I am a Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate for BI Reporting. Hopefully, we'll be having so many more people that is going to take these exams later on this year, as long as we are able to follow through on these webinars. So the MCSA certificate is something you earn after you write a couple of Microsoft exams. And Power BI also happened to be one of those exams that you can write to earn an MCSA. So if you want to get an MCSA in BI reporting, for example, you write one Power BI exam, analyzing and visualizing data with Power BI. Then you write another one on Excel, which is analyzing and visualizing data in Microsoft Excel. So once you are able to pass those 2 exams, which really comes with a lot of experience, then you can apply, if you are a trainer, to become a Microsoft certified trainer. So these things are not really out of reach. They are things we can all get, right? So I'm also an MCT, and I am also a certified advanced financial modeler from the Financial Modeling Institute. I train courses on Power BI, Power Query, financial modeling, advanced data analysis and reconciliation in Excel, as well as data presentation. So currently, I am the managing partner and the lead trainer at Foresight BI and Analytics. So we are starting right away. And if you remember, the first thing on our list of outcomes is to understand what self-service BI is. So BI stands for business intelligence, and what it really means is you should be able to take data from your business and make intelligent business decisions. So BI simply stands for everything that has to do with gathering data up to the point of making decisions with that data. So think about it. You have things like database, you have things like Excel, you have things like analytics solutions. All of these guys are part of business intelligence. So as long as you have to do with gathering data, and you also have to do with manipulating that data, you have to do with visualizing the data, you have to do with reporting that data, so as to communicate for someone to make intelligent business decisions. We are talking about BI, which is business intelligence. So these days, all we hear everywhere is AI, artificial intelligence. But I heard someone quite rightly say BI before AI. I hope you understand what that means, BI before AI. So based on the explanation I just made now, that BI has to do with everything from gathering data up to the point of reporting, then you should know that really BI comes before AI, because gathering that data and saving that data in a database is part of business intelligence, right? And AI really thrives on data. So somebody is going to have to gather that data before AI can work on it. So BI before AI, okay? So what then do we mean by self-service business intelligence? So now we understand what business intelligence means. Do we now understand what self-service BI means? So back in the days, we used to have things like Oracle BI, SAP BI, and different all sorts of BI solutions out there. But the problem is all these BI solutions are not self-service, because whatever the client or whatever your consultant has built for you as BI solutions is what you get. So if you need to create some more reports on your own, you are going to have to get in touch with that BI provider. They have to come back to your office and add whatever you need to add to that your BI solution. So self-service BI is just similar to MS Excel. So imagine having Excel and you are able to build anything you want by yourself. So you have that tool and you are the one that has to determine what comes in, what doesn't come in, what kind of analysis do you want to see, what kind of reports do you want to see, what do you want to see in your dashboard. It's all you. You are the analyst and you have the tool. You make what you want. You are not relying on a third party. So we are assuming that, for example, you own a business. Let's say you own a supermarket business, for example, or maybe this looks like a liquor store. So you own a liquor business and you have quite a number of brands in that your liquor business. Okay. Now, as a business owner, of course, you are looking out for the growth of your business. So you want your business to thrive. You want your business to make profit. If that is going to be the case, you are going to need to make excellent business decisions, right? So you need to answer questions like this. You must be able to ask your data, how much sales did I make this month compared to the same month in the previous year? And you might be wondering, why do you want to know that? Okay, so we are currently in May now. So you might be wondering, how much did I make? How much sales did I make this month of May of 2019 compared to the month of May in 2018? These are some of the questions that you will ask that can spur you to gain certain insights with your data. You also want to know whether there is a seasonality pattern within your sales. So a seasonality pattern is basically something that you can recognize within a time. For example, you always have low sales between January and March. then your sales always go up between April and November. Now that is sales. What about profit? What about other metrics within your business? So even if your sales goes up between April and June, for example, every year, have you checked to see what the profitability pattern is within that period? There could be a possibility that even though your sales goes up within that period, your cost is also going up within that period. Therefore, you are not really making more profit within those periods. So you would like to check on your data whether there is a seasonality pattern within your sales. For example, you also want to know something like which of your products moves fastest. So when you restock, for example, how many days does the product spend within your inventory? Which product moves faster than every other product? You want to know. You also want to know which of your products is the most profitable product. Okay, so we are just making assumptions here. And finally, you also want to know your most profitable products that you have, the one that gives you that high returns. Are they moving as fast as they should move? Do they sell fast? Do they leave your inventory fast? Do they leave the store on time, or they sit in store for a very long time? Then eventually somebody comes in to buy, and then you make that mega profit. So you want to track all of these things. But the thing is, most of the BI solutions that are out there give you all of these solutions, right? So they give you certain solutions, but the problem is you as a business owner might wake up one morning and you just decide, what if I can see this particular report? I would like to know what is happening within this particular store. For example, I would like to do some extra analysis inside my data. What if you need to do something like that? Your app is not going to be able to give you that solution simply because it is a black box. So you are going to need something that allows you to create what you want yourself, to create the analysis you want yourself, to connect to your data yourself, to manipulate that data yourself, to write formulas, to derive the metrics you want yourself, to create the charts that you want yourself. So think about it. You are creating your charts yourself, right? So we have something like Google Analytics, for example. So Google Analytics is going to give you some analytics based on your, let's say, your website, for example, and those charts are the charts that you have. You can't do anything about it. If you need to know something about your website that Google Analytics is not giving you, sorry, too bad, you can't get it. Okay, so you need something that enables you to take that power within your own control. And that particular thing you need is the reason we are here today, which is Power BI. Okay, so Power BI basically is a suite. When we say a suite, we mean a couple of things combined together. So it's a suite of self-service data analytics and visualization tools that has that ability to connect to a number of data sources. The last time I checked, it was numbering about 90 different data sources that you can directly connect Power BI to pull in data. So you can connect to these data sources to extract data. Then you want to clean up that data and prepare the data for analysis. So these are some of the things we are going to be learning later on, because merely connecting to data doesn't mean that you can start creating analysis instantly. You have to do something we call data cleanup and data preparation. So as far as Power BI is concerned, no matter how clean your data is, so take that as a rule, no matter how clean your data is, or no matter how clean it looks like, you must go through something we call Power Query to clean up and prepare that data. So let's assume data is clean. Yes, you still have to prepare it. So cleaning is part of data preparation. So Power BI enables you to do this. It also enables you to perform rich analysis on your data. So when we say rich analysis, we are saying you go beyond the ordinary. You can create analysis that you don't think would have been possible with Power BI, right? You can also create clear visuals. So visuals basically can be a chart or it can be a table. So you can create very, very clear visuals to communicate any outcome of the analysis that you have created, either for yourself or for any particular stakeholder. So you want to communicate the outcome of that report. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether you know how to write all the formulas in this world, whether you know how to manipulate data, you are good with engineering, you are good with coding, you are an excellent programmer. At the end of the day, your objective is to be able to communicate clearly to the stakeholders for them to make that important decision. So Power BI enables you to create clear visuals. And lastly, but not the least, at the end of everything, you can now take whatever you have done, the outcome or the output of everything, starting from connecting to data, to preparing data, to creating analysis, creating visuals, to communicate outcome. Power BI now enables you to share the outcome with others. Basically, when we get to billing, we'll talk about sharing much more. So you can share whatever you have created with anyone within your organization at least, or you can actually share with the public. Now, when we hear Power BI, like I mentioned earlier, Power BI is a suite, right? So it comprises a couple of things. It is not just a singular thing that makes up Power BI. So Power BI is made up of 3 distinct tools. We have the Power BI desktop, which is what we are going to be basing most of our trainings on, because Power BI desktop is the authoring tool. So just take this as your studio, basically. So you go into the studio, you record your music, then somebody is going to do mixing and mastering, do all of those stuff before you now have something you call an album that people can now listen to, or before it can be downloaded from online. First, you have to start from the studio, right? So Power BI desktop is that your studio that allows you to cook everything that you need to do before you can do anything like sharing. Now, when you want to share whatever you have created on Power BI desktop, you have to publish it online to what we call the Power BI service. So the Power BI service is a different platform entirely that enables you to share your reports and do so many other things like creating dashboards, like publishing whatever reports you have created, generating a link for a web link that you can share with someone, and also you can now have access to whatever you have shared to the Power BI service on your phone. So if you check your app store, for example, and you search with Power BI, you are going to see that you have a Power BI mobile application, which is going to be useless except you have either published a report to your own Power BI service, or someone has shared a report with you. So whatever report has been published to the Power BI service, someone that has a Power BI mobile app can actually sign in on that mobile app to view all those reports on the go. So Power BI is made up of how many components? 3 components: the desktop, the online service, and the mobile. So everything starts from where? Everything starts from desktop, then you publish to the service, and once you publish to the service, you can have access to it on your Power BI mobile. So now we have come to what exactly do you need to know before you call yourself proficient in the use or with the use of Power BI. What do you need to know? So basically, you are going to need to know how to prepare data. So it looks like you are learning how to cook. And think about it, we have various types of food in this world, and you can cook maybe 1 or 2 depending on your locality, or depending on, let's say, where you come from. So for example, we have Yoruba people, for example, they like amala a lot, amala and ewedu. So I wouldn't expect that there is any Yoruba person, at least the ladies, that doesn't know how to prepare amala and ewedu. So take data preparation as cooking. So you get data in various forms, just like we have various types of food. So you can get data in different forms. Some are clean, some are not clean, some are ridiculously dirty. You need to be able to know how to prepare data, how to clean up that data very well. So there are certain rules that we are going to be sharing on data cleaning. So much more within this program, we share all those rules. So you must learn how to prepare data. That's one. Then 2 and 3, or maybe 2 alone, you need to learn how to build what we call a data model. And also you need to learn how to write DAX. So DAX stands for Data Analysis Expressions, which is the formula language of Power BI. That's Power BI formula language is known as DAX. It is not much different from what you have in Excel. At the same time, it is very different from what you have in Excel. And you also need to know how to visualize data. So how do you communicate? What kind of chart should I use to represent this? So I've seen a lot of people that are excellent in preparing data. They are excellent in building data models and writing DAX formulas, but they lack that skill for data visualization. So you need to understand, what chart do you use to represent this analysis? Now I want to communicate something. I found out something within my data. This is an insight. How do I communicate it to make clear meaning to my audience? So you need to understand how to visualize data. So all of these things basically have to do with rules and principles. It's all about rules and principles, which we are going to be sharing. So once you understand the rules and principles of all of these, then you are good to go. And anytime you try something that is not working out, just write this down. So you try something in Power BI, is not working out as you expect, just know that you have not applied a particular rule or a particular principle correctly. That is all. That's what it all comes down to: rules and principles. Now, at the end of the day, you also need to understand the business knowledge for the data you are using to create that analysis. So take, for example, if you bring me an engineering data set to analyze, trust me, I'm not going to be able to come up with anything good, simply because I don't understand all that engineering jargons. So somebody will have to sit with me to tell me how the business runs. Will have to put me through what everything about data is all about. So before anyone can create anything meaningful in terms of visualizations, preparing the data, or building a data model, you have to really have an understanding of your business, right? So these 4 things are the skills that you are going to need to use before you can say you are good with Power BI. So let's now get started. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now while I go to prepare my Power BI desktop for the live show. So this is Power BI desktop. This is the user interface of Power BI desktop. So whenever you open Power BI desktop, this is what you are faced with. But before you get here, you need to download the software on your system. And how can you get the software? Basically, there are 2 ways you can get that software. It depends on the Windows that is running on your system. So if you are running on Windows 10, for example, you just have to go to the App Store. So if you go to your App Store, for example, and you just click on the search button, just type in Power BI on the search. So once you type in Power BI, you are going to see the Power BI desktop. Of course, you also see the Power BI mobile app. Now you want to download the authoring tool. You know you are going for the Power BI desktop. So that is one way. If you are on Windows 10, download from the App Store. But if you are not on Windows 10, you have to go to the Power BI website. So if you just type in www.powerbi.com, eventually it's going to come up to powerbi.microsoft.com, but you just type in www.powerbi.com on your browser, and it gets you to this Power BI official website, which may look kind of busy. You don't know where to download from. All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of the page. So once you scroll to the bottom of that page, you are going to see a section for downloads. So from this section, you just click on Power BI Desktop and you install the software on your system. Now, what is the difference between these two? Downloading from the App Store or downloading from the website? So when you download from the website, basically, Power BI updates at least once every month, right? So if you download from this website, it means once there is a new update, you are going to receive a pop-up on your Power BI desktop. Once you open your Power BI desktop, you have a pop-up that says an update is available. It simply means you have to come back to this website and download another installation file, which can be very, very stressful. Right now, that installation file, I think, is well over 200 megabytes. So which means every month, you are going to be wasting your data on 200 megabytes to download a new installation file for Power BI Desktop. So advice, get on Windows 10 so you can download from the App Store. So when you download from the App Store, anytime there is an update, it is usually automatic. So that update automatically comes into your Power BI Desktop on your system. So you don't have to go download every time you have an update. Okay, so I'm going to take us back now to Power BI Desktop. So the first thing we want to do on Power BI Desktop is to explain our way around. So the interface is quite busy. And my advice is, once you are starting to use Power BI for the first time, don't think too much about where everything is on the interface. I'm going to be giving you the shortcuts and tips that you need to navigate around easily. Okay, so just like you have in every other Microsoft application or the Office apps that you have out there, you always have what we call the tabs. So at the top of my Power BI Desktop, I have the tabs, and if you can see, I have 4 tabs: Home, View, Modeling, and Help. And these tabs carry various ribbon commands. So these are various commands within the tabs. So if you are going to perform an operation, you need to understand that you should come to so tab and pick so command. So I don't know if you can see right now, which of these commands do you think is the most important? So right now I'm on the Home tab, and you want to think which of these commands is the most important command. So we have get data, we have recent sources, we have new page, we have from marketplace. Of course, I'm sure you have that guess right, that get data is the most important button within the Power BI Desktop, because if you don't get data, I'm wondering, why would you open Power BI Desktop? So first thing you need to do when you open Power BI Desktop, really, you are going to analyze some data set. You have to come to your Home tab and click on Get Data. So even if you don't know anything on the interface yet, of course, you are going to be familiar with Get Data, and we are going to use it real soon. But before we do that, in case you have Power BI Desktop already on your system and you would like to find out what version of Power BI are you running, because like I said earlier, Power BI drops versions every month. So at least once every month, there is an update. Sometimes it's more than one, sometimes it's up to 2 or 3 times, but be very, very sure that you have an update every month. So you want to find out the version of Power BI Desktop you are running. You're going to have to come to the Help tab. So if you click on the Help tab, you will see this icon for About. So I want to find out about my Power BI Desktop. So once I click on this icon, I will see a lot of jargons, but all I'm interested in really is this version. So you can see this is 64 bits May 2019, which happens to be the latest version. So if you check your Power BI Desktop, you go to Help, you click About. I'm sure you are going to see something funny. Some of you have Power BI Desktop, let's say as far back as 2017. As a matter of fact, if you have a Power BI Desktop that is that old, the first thing you are going to notice is that you can't even see the Help tab. That's the first thing. because the older versions don't even have this help tab. So you won't even see this, and you can't see this about. So all of these guys, like I mentioned earlier, are tabs. And then when you check at the bottom of the page, you are going to see that you have just one page, which is page 1, looking very similar to what you have in Excel. So I can click on this plus to open page 2, page 3, and so many other pages. I can also right click on any of the pages. I can rename the page. If I've created visuals on a particular page, I can duplicate, I can hide, and I can delete. So just very easy things like you have inside MS Excel. So we have the tabs, we have the page tabs. Then you have to look towards the right of your screen and you will find two things there. So these guys are what we call the panes. So this is the filters pane, this is visualizations pane, and this is fields pane. So just in case you are looking at something on my Power BI that you can't find on your own Power BI, you need to understand that certain things are still in preview mode. Preview mode being that it has not been officially released, and you need to enable it for you to test it out. So you can take the feedback to Microsoft so that they can improve on all those they are testing for them to officially release the product finally. So some of those things that are on preview, you have to go to File. So if I click on File and I go to Options, then I go to Option and Settings, then I click on Options. So this is more like the settings that you have in any of the Microsoft tools. So if you go to Excel, for example, you can click on File and you click on Options as well. So if I come to these options now, I can click on these preview features. So if I click preview features, I will see all the different things that have not been officially released by Power BI. So they are still in preview mode. So for example, I talked about the filters pane. So you can see this guy, new filter experience. I've checked it out. I didn't check Spanish language because I don't understand Spanish and there is nothing for me to test there. So in case you are looking at your screen and you are seeing that you don't have the filters pane, then you need to come to enable it if at least you have the latest version of Power BI or close to the latest version of Power BI. So these are the panes, like I explained earlier. We have the fields pane and we have the visualizations pane. You understand more about these guys when I bring in data. But just to prompt you, fields pane is basically where you get to see all the tables that you have brought into Power BI. So all the data sets that you have connected to, you will have them showing the tables and the list of the columns in each table. You find that on the fields pane. Why the visualizations pane is looking very obvious. So this is just where you select a particular chart that you would like to use to represent the outcome of an analysis. So you pick charts from the visualizations pane. So you are going to see that we have about 27 or 28 charts. So these charts that you have here currently are what we call the standard visuals, which means you are not limited to these charts. So these are the standard guys you always get once you open Power BI. So if you need to get more charts, you are going to need to bring in your own custom visuals, or you can bring in custom visuals that are already on the Microsoft Marketplace. Okay. So if you see at the end of the visualizations charts, you are going to see these three dots. We call these the ellipses. So these are the ellipses. So if you click on these ellipses, you can see that it says import a custom visual. So if you need to add in more visuals, you click on the ellipses. It's going to ask you to either import from a file you have on your system, or you can import from the Microsoft Marketplace. There are some really, really interesting visuals in the Marketplace. So these are panes, visualizations pane and fields pane. We also have the filters pane, but that's not all. There are some panes that you can't see by default. So for you to see those other panes, you have to come to the view tab. So if I click on the view tab, I will see that I have things like bookmarks pane, I have selection pane, I have field properties. So once I check these, you see the page is almost filled out with panes, different kinds of panes. But the two that you really always need are there by default. So you need your fields pane, and you need your visualization pane. So I'm just going to close these other guys. So at the bottom of the visualization pane, you can see two different buttons. And if I place my cursor on each one, you see the name. So this is the fields button and this is the format button. So what these two guys really do is this. So once you select a chart and you would like to change certain things about that chart, you have to come to either of these two. So if you need to change what you are seeing on the chart in terms of the presentation of what you are seeing on your chart, you have to come to fields pane. And if you need to change the elements you are seeing on a chart, for example, we have colors, we have sizes, we have labels and all of those stuff, you have to come to the format button. So this will make more sense once I get to bring in data. So visualization pane, extremely important. You need to understand this section very well. Then if I come over to the left-hand side of my screen, I would see that I have another set of three icons. So the first one, when I place my cursor on it, is the report view. So these guys are called the views. So the views are basically what you are seeing. So now we are currently on report view, which is where you create your report. So if I go now to this other view, which is the data view, of course, you expect everything to disappear, right? So this is data view and it's currently blank because I don't have any data yet. So on the data view is where you get to see what you have inside your data. So you can do a little bit of exploratory analysis on this. You can do filters. You can check what you have within your data. Let's say, for example, you just like to check how many unique numbers of cities do I have within this data. You just quickly come to this data view. You click on the drop down for cities and you can count the number of cities you have there. So just quick exploratory analysis that you might need to aid the further analysis that you need. And then the third one is the model view. So this model view is basically where you get to connect more tables together. So when you are building a Power BI solution, for example, we talked about the fact that you need to understand how to build a proper data model. So this is where you get to build your data model, which we will learn much more later. So three views: report view, data view, and the model view. But you're going to be spending most of your time on the report view. So you just scantily come to data and modeling view. So you always come to report view. So in the order of ranking, you will spend most of your time on report view, followed by the model view, and lastly, data view. Okay, so I'm going to come back to my report view. So if you think about it, is there any other important feature you think I haven't touched right on this report view? Yes, I've not talked about this whole whitish area that you have here. So this whitish area is what we call the canvas. So this is the canvas, and it is where you get to express yourself in terms of visualizations. So when you create visuals, your visuals are going to drop on this canvas. So this is not an Excel spreadsheet. This is a canvas that can hold different charts together and make it look like a dashboard, but yet it is not a dashboard until you publish online. Okay, so this is the canvas, which by default is white in color, but you can always change the color of this canvas. So if I click on the empty canvas, for example, so let's say you're having some charts now, for example, when I said you use this format button to format your chart. So now if I don't want to format a chart, I just want to format the canvas. If I have charts in here, I need to make sure that no chart is selected. I can click on an empty space within the canvas, and I come click on this format button. So once I click on this format button, you're going to see page background. Okay, so if I expand this page background, you will see that the color is white, which is why we have this white here. And you also see that transparency is 100%. But if I change the color to what color? So let me change it to this color, for example. So once I select this, you won't see any difference because it is 100% transparent. So you will have to adjust this transparency to show your color. So as I use the transparency, you can see the color is changing gradually. And when I bring it up to 0, I'll have the full color changed on the canvas. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to white and go back to increase my transparency to 100. So once you are much more used to Power BI, you can play with all of this stuff. But now we are going to have to go bring in data into Power BI to see how this really looks like. This is the single most important step that you need to take in your Power BI training journey. If you are able to do this once, then you can take your knowledge to the next level by taking on some more advanced Power BI lessons. But the very first thing you need to do is to understand how to navigate around this with data. So you have to bring in data and you have to do a couple of things. Once you are comfortable with that, and believe me, this is where some people have gotten to, and they can display something for you that's going to look very beautiful and tell you that, yes, I know how to use Power BI. And yes, they do know how to use Power BI. But we are not going to stop on just being able to navigate around the Power BI desktop. We'll go as far as learning how to prepare messy data and also learning how to create visualizations and learning how to write the DAX formulas. But for today, which is our first webinar, we are just focusing on finding our way around the Power BI desktop. We are going to play with a little data set. So I mentioned earlier, the single most important button within your Power BI desktop is the Get Data. So when I click on this drop down on Get Data, what I'll see is a couple of data sources, and you can see at the top of this you have most common. So these are the most common data sources that people connect to, and guess what is number one? Microsoft Excel. You can't run away from Excel, never ever. You can't run away from it. Okay, so Excel is the number one on the list. We have text and CSV combined together. So in case you are looking for CSV, you're not going to find CSV. So text and CSV are combined together as a single data source. You can connect to web. So I can connect to the English Premier League website, for example, and pull in data from there. You can also write a blank query from scratch. Let's say you are a query wizard. You understand the formula language that the Power Query or Power BI uses. It is called the M language. But then this is not all. If I click more, I'm going to see a whole new list of all the data sources. So you can see that this all now is now batched into various groups. But the very first one is the all, where you can find all the data sources. And you can see, interestingly, that you can connect to a folder within your system and bring in data. Also, you can connect to a PDF file. So you can imagine that. So you connect to PDF file and you bring in all those tables that you have there instead of going to look for a PDF converter, simply because you need to bring in data. But mind you, there are two types of PDFs, right? So there is hard PDF and there is soft PDF. So a hard PDF is something that is scanned. So if you scan a document, for example, don't expect that you are going to be able to use Power BI to pull in that data. That is hard PDF. You can't do that. And when I scroll down on this page, you will see so many other sources. One interesting one that we also have there is Facebook. So you can see that you can connect to Facebook. You can connect to GitHub, MailChimp. What else do we have that is interesting? For the accountants in the house, you can connect to your QuickBooks. But anyone you see better means it is still in testing mode, which means it might not yet be reliable. So accounting guys, you can connect directly to your QuickBooks Online and bring in your data. Of course, just like I explained earlier, QuickBooks already has its own analytics, but then you need to do more. You need to create something interesting that you feel is going to help your business. Then you connect QuickBooks to Power BI and you create what you want. So what else do we have that is interesting here? Okay, you can see R script and Python script. So you can write in R script directly into Power BI. You can write Python script directly to Power BI. And what else is interesting here? So many data sources that you can connect to. But today we are going to be connecting to Excel. Why? Because it is the most common source that we have in connecting to Power BI. Excel is the most common. And really, Excel does have some funny behaviors when it comes to data connection, which I'm going to be showing you shortly. So I'm going to select Excel and click connect. So now I need to browse to where my data is. I'm connecting to this data called Superstore Data. So if I click Superstore Data and I click open, now this is going to take me to a different environment entirely. So you need to understand that Power BI is a suite, right? A suite of tools. So even within Power BI desktop itself, we have something we call Power Query. So the Power BI desktop, excellent when you want to write your DAX formulas, excellent when you want to create your visuals. But when it comes to preparing that data, you need to borrow the Power Query within Power BI. So the data preparation tool within Power BI is called Power Query. So when you connect to data, that data is going to land first on Power Query, and then at the end of the day, you are going to load it back to Power BI. Okay, so when you are connecting to Power Query, the first thing you see when you connect to a data source is to list out all the tables that you have within that data source. So in this case, I'm trying to connect to an Excel workbook called Superstore Data, and I can see that I have 3 tables there: orders, people, and returns. So it would make sense for us to go and open this Superstore Data within Excel to see what it really looks like. So this is the Superstore Data in Excel, and as you can see, we have 3 different worksheets. We have the orders worksheet, we have the returns worksheet, and we have the people worksheet. So these are the 3 things that you can see within this navigator, right? And you only need to select what you want to connect to. But I need to warn you here, when you are connected to Excel, you can come up with a whole bunch of scenarios because Excel has different properties. So right now, these 3 you are seeing are basically sheet properties, and the sheets are orders, people, and returns. So take, for example, if I come into this Excel, let's say I come into this Superstore Data now, and I decide to convert this data into a table format within Excel. So shortcut to convert to table in Excel is Control T. So if I press Control T and I convert this data from an ordinary data set into a table, click OK. Then I come in, you can see that the table is called table 1. So on the top left of my screen, you can see this table name is table 1. I can decide to change this from table name. So let's say I call it orders. So which means I'm repeating the same table name as the sheet name. So the sheet is orders worksheet, and I've also decided to call the table orders. If I come to this other guy, returns, and I make it a table, Control T, my table has headers, hit OK. So you see that this is now table 2. And I can change the name from table 2 to whatever name I like. So let's say I change this one also to returns, and I hit enter. And finally, let's convert this as well, people. So Control T to make it a table. My table has headers. Then I change the name from table 3 to people. And I save this file. So Control S, save. Now take a look at this. So first, you have 3 sheets: orders, people, and returns. I'm going to close this guy. Have I saved this Excel file? Yes, Control S to save. Then I'm going to close it. Then I'll come back to get data. I'll click Excel. Then I'll go to my desktop and connect to Superstore Data. Click open. Now, guess what I have? So simply because I've added an extra property to that Excel workbook, now you can see that I now have orders appearing 2 times, orders 1 and orders. And they basically stand for the same thing, just that one data is inside the worksheet and the other one is inside the table property within Excel. So for example, if I just click on these orders, it's going to show me a preview of what I have there. So row ID, order date, blah, blah, blah. If I click on this other one, orders 1, you have basically the same thing. So sometimes when you connect to Excel, you'll be seeing a lot of things on the navigation options. So you see a lot. Just know that you need to know which one exactly you are connecting to. So in Excel, if you name a range, you are going to see that named range. If you create a table, you see that table. If you try to print, Control P, and then you save that file like that, you will see your print range as well when you connect to Excel. So you need to know exactly what you are connecting to. So for example, now I just want to connect to either the table or the order sheet, but I'll just go with the default that we have there. So I'll connect to this order sheet by clicking this guy. So, and how do you really differentiate between what is a sheet and what is a table? So when you see a blue line at the top like this, you know you are looking at the table property. But when you see something that is blank, when you see the icon is just vague, it doesn't have any coloring, just a vague icon, you know you are connecting to the sheet property. Sometimes you need to connect to the table property, sometimes you need to connect to sheet properties, depends on what you want, right? So rule number one is, once you select what you want to connect to, don't ever click on load. Always click on edit. And the reason is because you have to make sure that your data is looking right before you start any major work. Why? Because if you don't do that and you just go ahead to start your analysis, you start seeing that some things are not right, and it might take you a long time for you to figure it out that your data is not looking right from the onset. So the first thing you always have to do once you select what you are connecting to is to click on edit. Sometimes you are not connected to Excel, you are connected to a particular database which you need to provide login. But at the end of the day, once you put in your login details for that database, you always come back to the list of tables that you have the access to eventually, right? So which is all the same. So from this junction, it's all the same for every data source. Okay, so I'm going with orders, then I'll click edit. Now watch what happens now. Edit is going to go ahead to open a completely different environment. So sometimes you don't get to see this and you are wondering that you've clicked on edit but you can't see your data. So you always have to come to the bottom. You always have to come to the bottom of your Windows page to where you have that Power BI icon. Then you can see that you now have two Power BI windows. You have two now. One is Power Query Editor, which we are currently on. The other one is the Power BI desktop itself. So now because the editor is opened, if you check at the top, you are going to see a pop-up that says apply changes. That is, apply the changes to your data preparation. Are you done preparing data? Do you want to apply the changes? We are not done yet. So we are just going to go back, come back here and come to the Power Query Editor. So rule number one is never ever click on load, always click on edit. Now, rule number two is this. Now you are in Power Query Editor, you must make sure that all the columns within your Power Query Editor, all the columns within your data have the correct data types. But before we do that, I'm going to take time to explain what the Power Query Editor looks like. So basically, Power Query enables you to prepare data in a very, very easy way without writing any single formulas. If you are an Excel guru, you must know how tedious it can be for you to clean data in Excel. Now, when you are a guru in Excel, for example, you might enjoy it sometimes simply because you are fascinated by the kind of formulas you are writing to clean your data the way you want it, and you pat yourself on the back at the end of the day. Well done, I've done a very good job. Guess what? Power Query is not like that, because everything you have to do, or let's say 99.9% of the cleanup job that you mostly need to do in Power Query can be achieved by just clicking on buttons, different buttons. So if you are seeing this, you already know that you can see certain buttons like remove columns, keep rows. If I click on the transform tab, you can see things like split column, you can see things like transpose, you can see things like count rows, so many different buttons. And guess what? 99.9% of whatever you may think in your head that you need to do to transform your data is already there somewhere. You just need to find out where. So later on, I'll give you a tip of how to really find what you want to do in terms of preparing your data. So looking at all of these tabs, you have so many things there and you might not really know what you are looking for. That's one. Secondly, even though you know what you are looking for, it might be difficult for you to spot it because you have a lot of them. So I'll give you a tip on how to spot what you want to use to transform your data. Okay, now when you look to the right of this Power Query, you're going to see that I have a section called Applied Steps. So this applied steps basically is the recording of every action that has taken place for me to connect to this data set, for me to connect to my Superstore data, every action. So remember, the first thing I did is what? I went to get data and I selected a source, which was what? Excel. So as you can see on the apply steps area, the first thing is source, and I can go back each of these steps as long as I don't click on this X icon. So this X icon simply means delete this step. And guess what? There is no Control Z in Power Query. There is no undo. So once you delete the step is gone. You have to create it on your own again. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to show what has happened so far. So first thing, I came to source, which was Excel. That was this step. And then I had a list of different things. You can see this. You can see that I have so many things. Others, returns people, others one, which is the table, returns two, and all of that. Then the next thing I did was to select a particular sheet or a particular data table that I wanted to connect to, which is the others. And that next step is the navigation step. So on this navigation step, I have already selected I want to connect to others worksheet. And then this is now Power Query trying to be smart, and Power Query thinks that the first row on this data contains the headings, and it tries to on its own carry this first row to the top and make it headings, right? And that is the step you see here, promoted headers. And once you look at these promoted headers, you are going to see that just beside each of these headings, you see ABC 1, 2, 3, ABC 1, 2, 3. So all of these ABC 1, 2, 3s, which you have for everything, all of the columns, simply means I don't know what data type this is. I don't know whether it's a number. I don't know whether it is a text, right? So I don't know if the content of this column is a text or a number. That's why you have ABC 1, 2, 3. So Power Query now tries to be smart again to detect what data type each of the columns is. And that is that next step that you see here called the change type. So if I click on change type step, just watch, you have ABC 1, 2, 3 here. You have ABC 1, 2, 3 here. So once I click on change type step, you are going to see that has now changed. So now on the row ID, I no longer have ABC 1, 2, 3. What I have is 1, 2, 3, which means this is a numbers column, right? On the others ID, I don't have ABC 1, 2, 3. What I have is ABC, which means this is a text column. And when you look at the other dates, you will see something that looks like a calendar just beside the heading. So this icon looking like a calendar. So this tells you that this is a dates column, right? And when I scroll to the right to check if all my data types are correct. So this is the rule now. You need to ensure that all data types within the table you are bringing in is in the correct data type. Okay, so I'm going to scroll to the right and see if there is any one of them that is not looking right. So when you see 1.2, for example, which is different from 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3 means whole number. 1.2 means decimal number. So I've scrolled to the right. Everything looks right. It looks good, except for a couple of things, which I'm just going to go back. I don't know if you saw this, but if I go back a little bit, you will find out that I have something called postal code. So now, postal code, is it supposed to be a number or is it supposed to be a text? So this 42420, as far as we are concerned, this is a postal code. It is a code. Therefore, it is not a number. So how do you know whether something is a number or something is a text? So pick two of that particular item and add them together. If it makes any sense to add up, that means it's a number. If it doesn't make sense to add up, that means it is a text. So you treat it as a text as far as data preparation is concerned. For example, if I have a field that has phone numbers, so my phone number plus your phone number, what sense does that make? Absolutely nothing. So phone number, even though it's called phone number, as far as data preparation is concerned, is going to be treated as a text. So postal code is supposed to be a text, and what I have to do is click on this postal code column. I'll just select the heading. Then I'll come to the transform tab. So once I click the transform tab, I will see a button that says data type, and it's currently on what? It's currently on whole number. So I'll click on this drop down and change it to text, right? So once I change it to text, it's going to change. Now that's one way of changing the data type of this column. Another way you can do that is click on this 1, 2, 3 itself. So this 1, 2, 3 itself, I'm going to click on it. Then I'll have all the types that I want, and I'll just select text. That's the second way of doing this, which happens to be the fastest way. Now, the final way, I just want to show you, because I said I was going to I'm going to be showing you the tips on how to quickly spot what you want. So say, for example, you like to change data type for this column, but you've looked all around and you can't see where to do that. You know, you have to click on the home tab and start checking everything one by one to see which one of them can help you change data type. This can take you a long time. So anytime you are doing a transformation that has to do with a column or a couple of columns, the best way for you to get what you want in most cases is to right click at the top of that column, and you have all your options. So you are just looking straight down on a list instead of going to look at each column to find the correct button to use. So once I right click here on postal code, I will find change type, right? And I can come here and select text. So this is what I want to do. Now you have this warning button, because remember that Power Query has already done all the change types for us. Now I'm trying to change the change type that Power Query has done, right? So I need to say it should replace the current thing that it has done. So I'll just select replace current, and you see postal code is now text. And when I scroll over to the left-hand side, you also see that I have row ID. So you want to ask yourself again, if I add row 1 to row 2, what sense does that make? Add this 1 to 2, it gives me 3. Does it give me any sense? Does it make any sense at all? The answer is no. So row ID is supposed to be a text column, right? But guess what? I'm not going to change this to text. I'm also going to ask myself another question, which is this. Now, what sense does this row ID going to add to my report at the end of the day? What sense is it going to add? So if it's not going to add any sense to me, I can as well do away with it. So this is how it has come from the database, but I don't need it. I don't need this row ID. So I need to delete this, right? So now what do? You need to remove the column, and guess what? You can't go and start looking for the correct button to use to take that action. You shouldn't do that. You know you are performing an operation on a column, select the column, right click and pick your option. So now you can see remove. So once I click on this remove, it is gone. And then if you check to the left where I have the applied steps, you are going to see that I have a new step called removed columns. Now, when you're using Power BI for the first time, or maybe you haven't enabled this before, if you check at the top of this my Power Query editor, you are going to see a formula bar similar to what you have in Excel. And this is Power Query writing out, generating the code to execute all these actions. So this language that you see here is known as the M language. You don't really need to know for you to do excellent work, because like I said, 99.9% of what you need to do can be done just by clicking. You just need to know how, and you need to figure out the problem, and then you find the solution to it. So this is the code that removes columns. For example, table.remove columns. So if you are going to be interested in writing the MCSA exam, or you are going to be writing the Power BI certification exam, as long as you work with Power BI data, always make sure you keep an eye on the codes that is being generated, because you are going to see a lot of these codes in those exams. A lot of these codes appear in those exams for real. So keep an eye on what code is doing what. So if I come to promote headers, for example, you see what he does. He uses a table dot promoted headers. If I come to the change type step, he uses table dot transform column types. Now removes columns is using table dot removed column. So this is all the M language in action. When we get to data preparation, sometime later within this series, we will see more on M and Power Query. Okay, now all of these guys that are here have been written out as a single batch of codes, right? And like I was saying earlier, just in case you can't see this formula bar, all you have to do is within Power Query, click on the View tab and enable formula bar. So once you enable formula bar, you can see the formula that is being written for every step, right? Now I said all of these codes have been written as a single batch of codes, which if I click on the advanced editor within the view tab, so I'm on view tab, I'll click advanced editor, you will see that I have a single set of codes for everything that has been done. Now guess what? We said Power Query and Excel are very, very similar. They have similar tools. Can I take this code into Excel and expect to have these same results? Expect to have all of these steps and have something like this. Can I do that? So let's find out, right? So Excel also has Power Query. So I'll just come to this advanced editor here, select anywhere within the formula area and press Ctrl A. So Ctrl A is going to select everything for me. So once I hit on Ctrl A, I'll copy with Ctrl C. Okay, so I've used Ctrl C to copy now. I'm going to go inside Excel. So let me just open an Excel worksheet, which happens to be our plan for this series. Okay, so we're supposed to do this yesterday, but we are doing it today, this weekend. Next, we are going to do intro to data modeling and DAX. Then in July, more on data modeling and DAX again. Then we'll come to the section of Power Query itself in August, where we'll learn more on how to prepare crazy data. I said crazy data. Yes, some data are really crazy. Then visualization and the Power BI online service. So by October, we should all be well grounded with Power BI. Okay, so now I'm going to come back here. I'm here. Ctrl A to select all the code, Ctrl C to copy the code. Then I come to Excel. Now, if you are using an Excel version from 2013 upwards, or let's say if you are using 2013 basically, then you are going to need to download and add in the Power Query add-in to your Excel. But if you are using from 2016 up to 2019 or Office 365 version of Excel, Power Query is already a part of your Excel, and you can find this within the data tab. Okay, so I come to data tab, I'll click on get data. Now, because I already have a code, so I won't bother myself about saying I want to connect to Excel or I want to connect to CSV. I'm just going to go to from other sources. Then I'll select blank query because I have the code already. So once I select blank query, Excel is now going to leave me alone, and then it's going to give me the Power Query window of Excel. So there is also a Power Query window within Excel. Now, because I have a blank query, check the apply steps area. The first thing you see there is source, and check the formula bar you see is blank, right? Now, because I'm going to be pasting a batch of codes, I can't paste that code within this formula bar. I'm going to need to go to View tab, just like we did earlier in Power BI, come to Advanced Editor, and click anywhere within this formula area, press Ctrl A to select all, and press Ctrl V to paste what I have from the other Power BI file. Then I click done. And once I click done, guess what? I have exactly the same thing that I have within my Power BI in Excel. So this is just to tell you that these two tools are very similar. So all of the tools that work together in Power BI to give us what we call Power BI Desktop, we have them as separate tools within Excel. So we have Power Query to prepare the data. We have Power Pivot to create data models and write DAX language. We have Power View to create the charts we have in Power BI. Then we also have Power Map to create visualizations on location data. But that is not where we are going to. So now I believe I'm done with this data preparation, which is just a very simple and straightforward one. I can go back to the home tab and click close and apply. So once I hit close and apply, bye bye to Power Query, and then welcome back to Power BI. So Power Query is all gone now. It is applying the query changes, and we are back now on Power BI. And guess what? Everything now becomes active. So now if I check my fields pane, I can now see that I have a table called orders, and within that table, I have different columns: category, city, country, customer ID, all the way down. Okay, and guess what? I'm currently on what? I'm on report view. If I go to my data view, I can now see the exact data that I have here. So this is just field pane, just showing me the table and the columns within. I can decide to collapse this. So if I click on this little arrow here, it collapses it. So let's say I have more than one table. I'll have a list of all the tables listed down here. And when I expand, I can see the columns within each of the tables. So I'm going to come back now to data view. And once I come to data view, you can now see the exact data that we have within my table. So this now lays out all data. And for example, if I want to find out how many ship modes do we really have, just exploratory analysis basically, how many ship modes do we have? I'll just come and click on this drop down, and I'll see that we have just 4 ship modes. So you can come to data view to do stuff like this. It depends on whatever you want to take a look at. So sometimes, for example, you need to see when we get to data modeling, where we are going to be joining 2 tables together. Sometimes you can come across an error. For example, let's say you join ship mode on this table to ship mode on another table, and then you notice that your report is not jiving, it's not giving you what you want. Then you can come to your data view and check, what do I have in ship mode on this table? I have standard class, first class, I have a same day. You go to the other table, you check what you have on ship mode. So maybe you have something else entirely, right? That means the 2 can't connect together, because for you to connect 2 tables together, you need to have the same data within them. Okay, so that's some of the things you come to do on data view, which you will understand much more later. So I'm going to go back now to my report view and try to create 1 or 2 reports quickly, so that we can see how these controls really work, and these visualizations pane, how do we really use it. So let's say, for example, the first report I'm going to create is, okay, so let's take a look at data we have first. So we have things like order ID, so just an identification for each order. Then we have the dates for each transaction. Then basically this data has to do with something like an e-commerce data, where people come online, order stuff, and it gets shipped to them. Okay, so what ship mode was used for this transaction? Standard class. The customer information, we have the customer ID name, and then the segment, is he a corporate customer, is he a consumer customer? I can click on this drop down, for example, and I want to see how many segments do we have. So we have corporate customers, we have consumer customers, and we have home office customers. Okay, so this information is all about the customer, the name, the segment, the country, city, state, then the postal code of where the person is ordering from, the region. Then we have information about the product. What product did the person order? So the ID for the product and the category. So is it an office supply? Is it a technology, or is it furniture? Then we have the subcategory. So if it's an office supply, is it storage, or is it art, or is it paper? Subcategory of the product, then the product name itself, and finally we have the sales amount, the quantity, the discount, and the profit. So say I am the owner of this business, for example, I would like to see how my sales is doing for various reasons. For example, if I come to my report view, I want to see how much sales am I making per product category. Okay, so product category, basically I have what and what? I have office supplies, furniture, and technology, and I want to view how much sales am I making by product category. So I'll come to my visualizations pane, and easy as possible, since I can define what I want sales by category. So I'll expand to see all my fields, and I'll basically go look for category, anyone I find first. So if I click on category, I just check the box for category. Then I scroll down and I pick on sales. Okay, so automatically it generates a table for me, and I'm very, very sure you can't see what is on this table. So first problem, we have generated a report, but we can't see anything inside. So remember, you have to come to visualizations pane, and I said if you want to change what the visual is showing, you use the field settings. But if you want to change elements of that visual, you use the format button. So now, because we can't really see what is here, so I'm just going to use the format button. So I'll click on format button. First thing, make sure this chart is selected. Remember, if I click outside first, that means I want to format the canvas. So if I come to format now, I'm going to be formatting the canvas. So if I want to format this chart, I'll make sure I select the chart first, then click on format. And then I have so many options here, so many options. But what I want is I need to increase the size of this guy. So easily, one of the updates that came has enabled us to use the search pane. So I can come into the search pane and type in a keyword. So I just want to increase the size. So I type in size. Once I type in size, it gives me every control that has to do with size. Is much more visible now. So this is my sales by category, first report, easy and straightforward. Another problem now is this: what if I don't want to use a table to represent this report? So I don't want to use a table, I want to use a bar chart, or I want to use a column chart. Okay, so all you have to do is make sure this report is selected, and then come and select another type of chart. So this basically is going to convert it from the default that it has created for you to what you want. Okay, so I'll select the chart, come over to visualizations pane, and I'll pick column chart. So once I pick column chart, it automatically changes it to a column chart. And just like before, now I can see the labels. I can see what is on my x-axis. So this is x-axis, this is y-axis. So I'll ask myself, what are the things I need to change about this chart? What are the things, what are the elements that need to be changed? Okay, so I'll come back here, come back to this format button. Now I'm going to remove size. I'm just going to type it all over again, size. Now it gives me everything that has size, starting with the x-axis. So this x-axis is supposed to give me the labels for the category, but I can't really see it. Okay, so I'll take it up from 11. I'll take it up to 18. Now it is looking more legible, except for another problem, right? Which is the color. So let's say this by default always comes in as a dark gray, not exactly black. So it is not really legible. So if I want it to be legible, I would like to change it to color black. So I'll just basically come back here now, clean size, and type in color. So now it is color. So I want to color my x-axis. From this gray, I want to use a proper black. So I'll just select this black, and I have a quick report. I might want to work on the y-axis. I might want to work on the title. So if you look, the title is really looking very small. So I'll come back here, say type in size, then scroll down to where I can find title. So you can see title, the title, the size of the title is 9. I'll take that up again. So I have 20 now. So sales by category. Of course, you might want to change the color of this as well. You know how to do that already. Just clean this and put in color. And then I will scroll down to go look for title. Okay, so this is title, and the font color is a light gray. So I'm going to change that from light gray to something reddish. So something reddish like this, and you can see the color has changed. If I would like to give it a background color as well, so I want the heading to be under a background. So I'll just come to background color, and then I'm going to change it to, let's say I'm using a black. So black background color. So you can now see the heading that has a black background. Now, something I always say is this: when I see any report any Power BI report that comes with these green bars. For some reason, it just tells me somebody is just starting out, right? So I don't like to leave my reports on the default color, this green. For some reason, I just don't like it. So if I want to change the color of these bars, still, I'll come into the format area, make sure I have color typed in the search pane. Then I'll go look for something called the data color. So you can see data color, which is this. So this is the data basically. This is the figures for technology, sales figures for technology. That is the data. So I'll come to data color and I'll change it. I can use a little bit of light gray or light black, and that is one report, and that is basically how you start to manipulate your chart in terms of changing the elements. So this is one report, sales by category. Now I'm just going to quickly create another report. This time I want to do something else on field settings. So let's say, for example, I would like to see a report of my cities. Okay, so first I'll go to my data view and I'll go look for cities. So where do I have cities? Okay, so this is cities. When I click on this drop down, I'll see that I have quite a number of cities, so many cities. And as an executive, trust me, I'm not going to be focusing on seeing the total revenue for each city. It won't make sense to me. Okay, so let's say I want to create a chart that is giving me the revenue by city. Now we have seen one way of creating a chart, which is by clicking on the field and clicking on the quantities area. Okay, so I want to see sales by city. I can come in and check city and also come in and check sales. That's going to generate a default chart for me, which at the end of the day, if I need to change the chart, then I'll make sure the chart is selected and I'll pick a different chart. That is one way of creating a report. Another way of creating a report is this. Before you create a new chart, make sure that this first chart or whatever chart you have is not selected. Make sure no chart is selected. Remember that when you select a chart and you come click on something else, you are working on that chart. So now I want to create a new report. I'll click outside first, click on a blank area within the canvas. Then I can decide to first of all pick the chart that I want first. So I don't want Power BI to give me a default chart, then me having to change that chart to what I want. So I will start doing it right from the beginning. So I'll select the kind of chart I want. So I want to use a bar chart. So I'll pick a bar chart and I can drag this chart and take it to somewhere else. So I bring in that chart here. I can even adjust it already to make it almost the same size. So now I've brought in a bar chart. All I now need to do is feed in values into this chart. So now I want city and what? And sales by city. So I'll just now check the box for city and I'll check the box for sales. So now this is sales by city, and guess what? On a bar chart, I have to scroll all the way down for me to see all the sales for all the cities. Guess what? I, as an executive, don't care about all the cities. So say, for example, I just want to see the top 10 cities alone. So only top 10 cities. Now I'm going to be changing what the chart is showing, right? So for me to change what the chart is showing, I'm not going to use this format. I'm going to use this fields. So this chart is currently showing sales by all the cities, but I don't want to see all the cities. I want to see only top 10 cities. So I'll come to my field settings and scroll down. Okay, so I think in the new updates now, everything has now been taken to these filters. Okay, so this is the filters pane now. And usually when you click on the chart like this, you have a section on this visualizations pane for filters. So there should be a section here for filters, but because I have enabled the new filter experience for my preview, remember, went to file and I enable new filter experience. Now I don't want to see all the cities. I just want to see the top 10. Okay, so I'm going to come to my filters pane now and click on city. So this is city and it's currently showing me all, but I don't want all. So I'm going to change the filter type from basic filtering. I'll click on this drop down and change it to top N. So if I change this to top N, I have a new button that is asking me to put in the numbers that I want. So top what? I want top 10. So I type in 10. Okay, so I want top 10 by value. So top 10 by what? I want top 10 cities by sales. So I want top 10 city by sales. So I'll go drag in sales and put it in this box. So top 10 cities by sales, then I'll click this guy, apply filter. So once I apply the filter, you now see I have only 10 bars and I don't need to scroll anymore. So this is now top 10 city by sales, by top 10 city by sales rather. And guess what? I still need to do some level of formatting on the elements of this chart. For example, I can't see my y-axis very well. These labels, New York City, LA, Seattle, San Francisco, I can't really see them legibly. So I want to change that. I'll come to format, select this chart first, then come to the format button, and I'll type in size as usual, type in size. Then y-axis is currently 11, so I'll just take that up to 13. Then also the title, look at this title, sales by city, looking very tiny. So I'll go look for title. So I want to change the size of the title, which is currently 9. So I'll take that up to, let me take that also to 14. Then I would like to work on colors as well. Remember, I don't like the green color and I don't like this color for the titles. I would like to change that. So I'll click, type in color here, and I want to change the color of my y-axis, which is these labels. I want to change it to a proper black. Then I want to change the color of my data as well. So these green bars, I'm going to change it to my favorite dark color. Then I'll go scroll down again. I want to change the color of the title. So let's say I maintain the same reddish color, and I want to give the background another dark color. So just like we did earlier, so black background, reddish font color. Now let's say I would like to make these two the same size really. So I can click on this other chart now, and then I'll go look for size. So when I look for size, let me go look for the size of the title. Where is title? Axis, y-axis, data colors, title. I have to expand it. It's 20. Okay, so I can come and click on this guy and take the title size to 20. So we maintain the same size. So take this guy to 20. Now we have the same size for the two. Now you might want to ask that, let's say you would like to see the exact numbers on this chart. So when we come to visualization, we'll talk more about charting. So you want to see the exact numbers of this chart in front of the bar. So in front of the bar like this, you would like to see the exact numbers. So select the chart, come back to your format, and then scroll down a little bit and look for data labels. So do we have anything like data labels? Yes, you can see we have data labels here and it's currently off. So you want to put data labels on. And once you put it on, you see the numbers here, which you can format it. So expand data labels, change the color, make it black, or let's say a separate color basically. So let me use this red color. Then you can see display unit is auto, and that's why you have something like 0.26 m. You can't really see that very well now until I increase the text size of the data label. So I increase it to 13. So you have 0.26 m. That is because the display unit is on auto. So if you click on the drop down for auto, you can change it to millions, you can change it to thousands, you can change it to none, as a matter of fact. So when you change it to none, it will just display the total figures. So I'm just going to go back and leave it on auto. And guess what? Once you put on your data labels and you can see the numbers in front, then you no longer need the axis numbers anymore. So if I put on data labels here, I don't need x-axis anymore. It becomes useless to me. So I'll go scroll up and put off x-axis. Then one other thing I need to do on this chart is I need to now I need to say, to change the title from sales by city to really show what I have there, which is top 10 cities by sales. Okay, so I'll select the chart. I'll scroll down to where I have title, scroll down to title, expand this title, and like I can type in here sales by city. I'll change that to top 10 cities by sales. So this is top 10 cities by sales. What if I want to do bottom 10 cities by sales? Now you have to be lazy sometimes. You really need to be lazy. So what I'm going to do is I'll select this chart, press Ctrl C on my keyboard and Ctrl V to paste. So it's like duplicating the chart. Then I can just drag this one out. So let me just adjust these guys a little bit so I can accommodate everything here. Adjust and adjust. Then bring this guy and adjust. Okay, so now this is supposed to be bottom 10 cities by state. And I've replicated the top 10 cities in order to create the bottom 10 cities. So all I need to do now is go change my filter. Remember, I'm going to come to my filters pane. So if you don't have this filters pane on your own, once you select the chart, you check your visualizations pane, you see a section for filters at the bottom. It's basically the same thing, except now they have created a separate pane for that. So I'll come here and click on this drop down for city. Remember, I have top N as my filter type, and I said top 10. So now I'm just going to change this top to bottom. So it's now bottom 10 by sales, and I click apply filter. Now these are my bottom 10 cities by sales. Now if this is top 10 ranking from highest to lowest, what would make sense is for us to rank the bottom 10 from lowest to highest. Now how do we do that? Select the chart. Once you select the chart, you are going to see a set of icons either at the top of the chart or at the bottom, depending on where that chart is currently located within the canvas. So you see a group of icons at the bottom. Make sure you click on the ellipses, which is the 3 dots that says more options. So when I click on more options, I will see sort ascending and sort descending. So now I guess I need to sort what? Ascending. And when I sort ascending, my bottom 10 is now going to go from lowest to highest. And one last thing I need to do now is to now change the title from top 10 cities by sales to bottom 10 cities by sales. So now I can go to my format, go to title, expand this title, and then change this top. I'll change it to bottom. So now I have bottom 10 cities by sales. What other chart should I create? I'll create one last chart. I'll create one last chart for a timeline. Okay, so one last chart for a timeline. So I'll click out first, make sure no chart is currently selected. When you are viewing timeline or you are viewing any report that has to do with dates and time, the best chart for you to use is a line chart. So I'm going to bring up a line chart. So select this line chart and let me just allow this line chart to fill up this extra space. And I would like to see on this chart my sales by month. I want to see a trend. How are we selling by month? So I'm going to come to my fields pane and I will expand these other dates here. Expand the date hierarchy and I'm going to pick month. So I want to see sales by month. So once I pick month, I'll go pick my sales. So select sales. So this is now sales by month. This is the trend January, February, March, up until December. I'm sure you are now telling me what I need to do to change this chart. So thank you very much. I'll go to format. Then I want to change the color and the size of the x-axis. Now that I know where it is, I'll just expand x-axis. I'll change the color to proper black. Then I'll change the text size to something that is bigger. So 18, 19, 20, and finally, I don't like the green color. So I'll go look for data color. So this is data color. I'll expand this and I'll change this from green to my favorite black. So this is now sales by month. Of course, I still have my y-axis here, which I may want to change as well. So expand y-axis, scroll down, change the color, make it a black, and then increase the size a little bit. And if I wish, I could actually put on data labels, but remember that when you put on data labels, you need to put off the axis that is doing the same thing. So if I put on data label now, so put all the numbers in front or at the top or the bottom of each of the charts. So once I do this, basically I need to now put off y-axis. So I don't need this anymore if I have the numbers showing for each month. So I'll put off my y-axis, then I'll work on my data labels, make it a red color, reddish, and then I want to increase the size from 9 to something that is much more legible. So 15. Now I have 4 quick reports within Power BI. I've not written any DAX formulas. I've not written anything whatsoever. And I've been able to create these interesting visuals. One last thing is this. Now within this Power BI, there is a particular chart or there is a particular visual that we use for filtering. So all this chart that you are currently seeing here is representing the whole data set from 20, I think we have about 3 or 4 years of data from from 2014 all the way to 2017. So if I come back to report view, all these numbers represent everything from 2014 to 2017. So I would like to do something else, which is basically I would like to now make this report have some more sense. So let's say I'll adjust all my visuals. So this line chart, I'll reduce it a little bit. Reduce the line chart, it's too big. Of course, I forgot to work on the title. So I'll go work on the title now. Sales by month, title, expand. Yes, change the font color to this reddish. I want to give you the same background, which is a black background, and then the size I was using, I think, is 20. Okay, so sales by month 20 size. Then I just want to reduce it a little bit. Reduce this guy. Then bring this guy down. Bring them down, and also reduce. Bring this guy down and reduce. Last guy, bring down and also reduce. Okay, so I've created a space at the top which I would like to use to put some things that will give this report more meaning. So for example, I would like to give this report a title. So I want it to have a title. So I'll come to my home tab and I'll look for text box. So I can use a text box here. So I'll click a text box. Home text box. System is messing up. Okay. So this is not working. So I can't. Okay. So this is the text box now. So now in this text box, I'm just going to type sales reports. Of course, you can't see anything. So this now works like MS Word now. Then I'll just press Ctrl A to select everything. And then I want to change the size from 14 to 32. Sales reports, bring it up and make this fit. So sales reports, of course, come back inside, press Ctrl A to select it, make it bold. Then I want to change the color to the reddish color. So now this is the title of my report, sales report. And guess what? I can also format this text box. So if I click this text box now, If I check to the right where I have my visualizations pane, I can format this text box. So now I'm going to format the background. I'll put on the background. Then I'll change the color of the background to, now I want to use green. So I'll change it to green. So sales report transparency is 50%. If I take it to 0, does it make more sense? Not really. So I'm going to leave it on 50%. So take it back to 50%. So this is sales report. And my concern now is this. All of my reports are based on all the years. So I would like to filter it down to any particular year I would like to see. So I'll come use this visual called the slicer. So when I select this slicer visual, I can bring it up here. So select the slicer visual and I want to bring in year. So once I bring in here, this is how it lays it out. Of course, I would like to use it as a drop down so you can change how this slicer is looking like. So if I check at the top right, I'm going to see a little arrow there. Select the type of slicer it says. So I'll click on that arrow and I can change it to a list or I can change it to a drop down. So I'm just going to show you the three. So if I change it to a list, this is what I now have. It now lists out all the years. Of course, I'm going to have to go to my format section and type in size. I want to increase the size so you can see what I have there. So the item size, I'll take it up to 15. So now you can see the list of all the years, 2014, 15, 16, and 17. If I adjust this, so obviously you can see that this is not working. List is not working for me based on this, on the space I have. So I'm just going to come back to this small button here and I'll change the type of slicer I have from list. I'll change it to drop down. So once I change it to drop down, I have more space. So all I need to do now is, if I select this guy, click on this drop down, I can say, show me the report for 2014. I'll just click 2014 and everything updates to 2014. If I want 2015, I'll click 2015, everything updates to 2015, 16, and 17. Now, some of the controls you have with this slicer is, if I select the slicer and I come to the format section, I'm just going to claim this size. You will see that I have a section for selection controls. So if I expand these selection controls, I can force it to always select something. So if I click single select, that means something must always be selected at all times. A particular year must be selected. So now if I click on the drop down, I can select 2016, I can select 2015, 2014, and you no longer have that option of all anymore. So 1 year must always be selected. Another way you can use this slicer is, I'm just going to duplicate this guy, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, take this one out. So let's say I want to create another slicer now. I don't want to use here this time around. I would like to use ship mode. Okay, so now I've duplicated this slicer. All I need to do now is replace this year with ship mode. Okay, so I'll go look for ship mode. I'll just drag ship mode and use it to replace what I have here. So once I replace with ship mode, if I click on the drop down, I can see all my ship modes, same day, first class, second class, and all that. But I want to change the slicer type. So I'll click on this little arrow at the top. It's currently a drop down, but I'm going to change it to list. So once I change it to a list now, I can now do something, which is this. I'm going to come over to the format of this, my slicer, go to general, and orientation is currently vertical. I'll change it to horizontal. So once I change the orientation to horizontal, it now looks like buttons. Okay, so now I can expand this guy. So the more I expand, the more it adjusts. So I'll expand it like this, and now I have another slicer for ship mode. So now basically what this means is this report is currently showing first class ship mode for the year 2015. If I change the slicer to same day, of course, this is now a report that shows the same day sales for 2015. So you just have to basically play with all these user interface and controls So the thing you really need to understand well is the formatting area, understand the field settings, and you already know how to pick the charts that you want to use to represent whatever you need to do. So this is just a quick introduction to Power BI. And from here, every one of you that's attended this or that's watched this video should be able to use that data, which I'm going to drop on the group and probably upload it as well on the YouTube page. So you can download this data set and try to play with this on your own. So hopefully we have all enjoyed this edition, and we hope that you are going to come back for the next month's webinar where we expect to improve on what we have learned so far. So we are going to take it a step further and start building on what data model. So this is the schedule that we have for the months to come. So I'll just quickly share the schedule we have for the months to come. So our schedules now for the months to come is we have now covered this overview for Power BI, overview of Power BI. So next month of June, we are going to look at introduction to data modeling and data analysis expression. So this is us taking this game to another level. So from there, make sure you have been able to play with the data sets and you have been able to come up with a couple of reports which you can actually share with me. If you have questions, you can ask on the group. There will always be people to answer. We have a lot of gurus on that group. So ask your questions, start playing with data. The way to go about it is to get hands-on. So you have to get hands-on on data for you to really solidify your knowledge on this. So you can go over the videos again and you can pause when you need to pause, but make sure you take the exercises. Okay, so we have come to the end of this particular edition. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Nobody has been using the chat area. I don't know. Is it that you can't see the chat area? Any questions for me? So in the absence of no questions, we have now officially come to the end of this webinar. So let's take all other questions now to the group. Thank you very much for attending this. We hope to see you in the June edition where we take this to a whole new level. But before then, make sure you practice what you have learned so far. Watch the videos again, get the file, and create your own stunning reports. Thank you and bye-bye.